All right guys, today's video, I'm gonna give you some basic, simple facts because this keeps getting brought up over and over and over on social media. It's questions I get asked on the channel and it's questions that people ask all the time. And it's, can you really grow bigger bucks? And I have 5 things in my mind on what it's gonna take to grow bigger bucks and if it's even possible. And there's one thing in there that is really the contributing factor to it. And real quick, I'm gonna give you a quick story on this, so bear with me and then I'll jump right into the video. So the story is, I'm 37 years old. When I shot my very first buck, I was 14 years old and it was behind my parents' backyard. They owned 2 acres and it backed up to lots of woods. And it wasn't in ag country or nothing like that. A lot of houses around, but it had a big section of the woods that went through there, connected, you know, to smaller ones and then out to bigger ones and so forth. And I was 14 years old. In that area, nobody really hunted when I was a kid. So I was just getting into hunting and I had this big buck coming in and I was able to shoot it. It scored 186 inches, okay? 186 inches. After that, about a year to 2 years later, everybody found out about it. They started hunting that area, and all of a sudden, within a few years, there was hardly any deer left, no big bucks or anything like that. So, why was that? That buck was able to be in that area, wasn't hunted, it was able to grow and mature, and it became a huge buck. Long story short, that buck, I took it to the taxidermist to get mounted. That buck ended up getting stolen from the taxidermy shop. I've told this story many times, it got stolen. 14 years went by, I was able to recover that buck, got the antlers back, and I had it remounted, and now it's sitting in my house safe and secure. That same year I had it remounted by my new taxidermist, Brian, and I entered it into the Maryland Trophy Deer Contest, and it came in first place. Officially scored, it was 172 inches. Had some deductions on there and things, but it was a huge buck. First buck I ever shot. Everybody found out about it. That area to this day is still overly hunted, hardly any deer in that area, especially not big bucks. There's some deer in the area, but just not mature anymore because everybody found out about it. Everybody shot all the big bucks. Now they're gone. There's not bucks growing up in that area anymore because everybody shoots them. So keep that in mind. And the number one thing, this relates to this, but the number one thing in your area, around your hunting property, is what the heck are your neighbors doing? If your neighbors are not practicing, okay, not practicing quality deer management, your chances of ever shooting a bigger buck or growing a bigger buck goes down the tubes. Your property directly relates to your neighbors. What your neighbors are doing are going to greatly affect you. If they're riding their 4-wheelers, if they're shooting anything they see, you know, anything buck-wise, they're shooting anything they see. They're not, you know, practicing, you know, improving the habitat and things like that. Your chances of shooting one goes down the tube drastically. If you're in an area, okay, that your neighbors are all practicing the same thing, you're in ag country, there's plenty of food around, your neighbors only want to shoot the mature bucks, then your chances go greatly up. I bring this up because this is the number one factor, and I bring it up because it's questions I get asked all the time, and this is going to vary from county to county, state to state. You have people on social media or TV shows that shoot these giant bucks, okay? Obviously there's skill that goes into that, but where are they hunting? They're hunting in areas where it's big woods, the bucks are able to grow and mature, and the neighbors have a great impact on this, and they're doing the same thing. So I say this because people get this mindset in their mind like, oh, that guy's shooting 160, 70, 80, 90 inch, 200 inch deer, I can do the same thing, when your property is not going to come close to ever being able to do that. Whether you can be the best hunter in the world, but if that deer's just not there, that inch buck or that mature buck is just not there, you can't shoot them. And 108 inch deer in Illinois or Iowa or Kentucky or something may not be the same in PA. It's completely different hunting. A mature buck in PA may be 130 inch. 130 inches. That just may be all they can come, because that's the age structure in that area, because everybody's shooting them. So just because you see somebody shooting a big giant buck, 180, 200 inch deer, doesn't mean that you can do it as well, because it's just not there. That mature buck may be 130 inches. You know, if everybody's shooting anything they see, if brown is down, it may be a 100 inch deer. It all is directly related to your specific area and your neighbor. Obviously, number 2 on the list is nutrition. If the nutrition is not there, okay, how can the deer ever reach their full potential, their full, true genetic potential, if the nutrition is not there? I hunted big wood settings in Pennsylvania, and there was hardly any browse, any food around. The deer were skinny, you could see the ribs showing, and it took a lot of work to bring that nutrition level up through food plots and habitat work, and increasing the browse and things like that. It takes more work to reach a level of where you're actually benefiting the deer. It is possible, nutrition wise, to benefit the deer. If the nutrition is not there, then they're going to stay the same. They're not going to benefit from anything, or they're just not going to reach their genetic potential. And each deer has ability to get bigger through its genetics. What kind of genetics do they have? Well, if you focus on nutrition, obviously when you do this, it's going to vary from property to property and county to county. Some areas you're going to be able to improve that structure or benefit them more than others. What's the soil quality? What's the neighbors doing? What is, what kind of woods do you have? Is it open ag? Is it big wooded areas? In big wooded areas, most likely it's going to take more of your effort in order to see the most results. Ag country, the nutrition's already there. They're eating manicured crops that the farmers are lambing and fertilizing and things, and it's just going to take more effort if you're in those big wooded settings. But it is possible through nutrition. You can provide. I'm not talking, you see the guys on social media where they're dumping out a little bag of corn and oh, I'm putting out some deer pellets or something, or I'm putting out this mineral in the ground, forcing a deer to eat dirt, which isn't natural, by the way. And then all of a sudden they get this picture of this big buck and say, oh, I grew this big buck. No, you didn't. It just happened to be in that area and you attracted it by dumping some mineral in the dirt. It takes a lot and a lot and a lot of work to see true. It's not something you do short term, it's a long term. It takes years, a long term benefit. The big thing you'll see when you start doing habitat improvements is body weight. Body weight's usually the first thing that goes up. Then 2 years, 3 years later, the antlers, you start seeing benefits to them. But it's not something on a short term. You do something for 3, 4, 5, 6 months, and then all of a sudden quit, all your benefits goes out the window. You have to do it month after month, day after day, year after year, for 2, 3, 4, 5 years to actually see benefits from it. Next thing is genetics. Each area and each deer, each county, each state is going to have different genetics in that area. If the genetics aren't there to grow, to be this huge mature buck, then you're just not going to see them, right? I mean, yeah, you can provide all the nutrition you want. Your neighbors can be doing everything. You can be practicing every habitat management technique there is, and you can be the best hunter in the world. But what does that what does it even mean? What is the genetics in your area actually mean? Because the genetics right here might be 120 inch deer maxed out. Genetics in the Midwest might be 180 inch deer, maxed out. So it could be 120 inch deer here, but then you start doing all this habitat work and putting in food plots and paying attention to soil health and micronutrients and everything else. All of a sudden that deer, the average might be 135 or 140 inch. It's all relative to the area. And just because that person is shooting a 180 inch deer doesn't mean you can do it here, because the biggest buck in this area might be a 130 inch deer. It's a huge difference from county to county, state to state, guys. Keep that in mind. Next thing, number 4, is hunting pressure. Because if you're constantly pressuring the deer, right, what's that going to do? It's going to push the deer off of your property, on the neighbor's property, and makes them more vulnerable to getting shot. So you can have this beautiful manicured property, 100, 200 acre, whatever it is, but if you're constantly pressuring it and pushing the deer off, and your neighbor's trigger happy, then that deer is more vulnerable to getting shot. Obviously, it's a wild, free-ranging deer. You can't control every second of that deer, every day of what that deer does. It's going to leave, it's going to move around, it's going to walk past your neighbor's property, it's going to walk past a neighbor's tree stand. But what that deer does is it can actually associate certain things with danger. So if your neighbor's over there putting out corn piles and he's bow hunting over it and spooking deer off that corn pile, that deer is going to avoid that area. Then where's it going to go? It's going to be pushed off 100, 200, 300, 400 yards to somewhere else. And if that neighbor's doing it, then it's going to be pushed again. So your neighbors have a direct impact on all of this. You can try to control a deer, a buck, a mature buck in your area by providing a sanctuary and bedding areas and food and different things like that, but that deer is still going to leave. It's still going to leave. So if you're not in an area where a 1 to 2, 3, 4 mile radius of neighbors doing the same thing, your ability to be able to actually grow a deer or have large mature bucks in your area goes down the drain. It's all relative to the area, county to county, state to state. Last thing is obviously birthdays. Number 5 is birthdays. If you're not giving the deer birthdays, then all of your nutrition, all of their food plots, all of your effort, your chainsaw work, your whatever it is, your lime, your fertility levels, your micronutrients, all your traveling, your gas, goes out the window. Because if you're shooting 1.5-year-old bucks, how's that deer ever going to get to 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or whatever age structure is in that area? How can it reach that if you're shooting the deer? Everybody's goals are different, right? I don't really care what you shoot. For me, I'm not looking for a 200-inch deer. I'm not looking for a 180-inch deer. Last year I shot a 162-inch deer in Kentucky, but that's Kentucky. Do I expect the same thing here in Maryland? Well, Maryland's possible, some areas. Do I expect that same thing in Pennsylvania? Not at all, because it's rare. It's a rare situation. We just got a new property. Do I expect to shoot a 160-inch deer? Nope. Do I expect to shoot a 150-inch deer? Nope. Because I don't know what's in that area yet. We just got it, right? This question came up. Dave, you got this new property. Are you gonna shoot a big buck? Do you have any big? I have no idea. I have no clue. I don't know what's in that area. It's in ag country, so there's a chance of a mature buck, that we could attract and kind of hold a little bit and have a chance to shoot them, but I have no idea. Is it common? No, it's not really common. In Kentucky, is it common? Yeah, it's pretty common to shoot 150, 160-inch deer. So it all kind of interacts together with genetics and birthdays and food and neighbors. If you're in big wooded areas, you have tons and tons of acres on your property that you own and physically manage, then your chances of having that big, mature, age-wise buck on your property goes way up. If you're on a small property, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 100 acres, and then the next chunk over here is 10 acres, the next chunk over here is 10, and you got a 50 over here and a 40 over there, all these neighbors are hunting around you, and here you are with this 50, 60, 80, 100 acre property, and you're trying to physically grow a deer. It is tough. Can you hold some deer, hold some bucks in order for them to mature? Probably, some, maybe, who knows? Who knows? It's going to be difficult though, unless all those neighbors on all those properties within a mile are doing the same exact thing as you. It's tough. It's really tough, and that's just the cold hard truth on the matter. People can sell you anything they want and whatever it is, and you can do every kind of habitat practice that there is, but if your neighbors aren't doing the same thing, it's really tough, guys. I'm telling you, it's tough, and it's a consistency thing. What you do today benefits tomorrow. What you do tomorrow benefits the next day. What you do in May benefits in June, and what you do throughout this entire year benefits you the following year. It's what you do year after year after year after year, and just have realistic goals. Don't be upset if somebody's shooting 5, 6, 7-year-old deer, and here you are on your property, and the most you can get is a 2-year-old. Who cares? It's different. County to county, state to state. Hopefully this puts some clarity into this question and this topic, because it gets asked so much and people just have unrealistic goals, and just stick with it, your neighbors have a direct impact. You can't control everything your neighbors do, and it's just really tough, guys. So any questions, leave them down below. Drop a comment, give the video a thumbs up, subscribe if you guys are new. I'll see you on the next video, guys. Good luck. Thanks for watching this video, guys. If you want more information on food plots, soil samples, and habitat management, click this video right here on the screen. Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you guys are new.